Okay, so we are actually live at a decent time. It's 12:44 a.m. 7/14/2024. How's it going, Melissa? How are you? Good to see you. Hey, Dandy, good to see you too. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. Um, Gonna try to go over some True Crime Weekly cases, and then I want to get into. Hey, Heather, how are you? Good to see you. Some of the also the Ladybird Lake thing. But I hope everybody's having a good night so far. Hey, Dean, what's going on, buddy? I'm going to play an intro and I'll try to be right back. Good to see everybody. What am I doing? Be right back. I think. All right, so I just want to thank everybody for coming in. Dandelions, Necessarily Evil, everybody that's here. Heather Brown's here. Heather Brown's awesome. CJK, hi CJK. Hope you're well. Everybody else, Melissa's awesome. Melissa, thank you for coming in. First thing I want to do is give a shout out to one of our very, very best people, Miranda Lee. I know Miranda Lee's going through some. Thank you, Heather. Some stuff. So I just want to, definitely give her a shout out. She's a great person, always in the chats for all these different creators. Me, all the other Southern Gal, obviously, she's in Southern Gal a lot. And Mr. Steve, of course. So just a shout out to Miranda Lee. I hope you're doing well. Hey, Southern Gal, how are you? Southern Gal's in there. Southern Gal have, I had a great live last night. I try to catch all of it, but for some reason, once I get to later part of my night at work, I lose cell phone service. But she has a great, Southern Gal's awesome. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Miranda Lee because she's a great person. And I hope she's doing well. But I'm going to try to go over some cases for the week. I know there's some news about some of the stuff, especially Madeline Soto. So I'm going to try to get into that. Thank you, Heather. You're the awesomest. Everybody in this chat is awesome. Necessarily Evil's great. Dean is in here. Dean's great. But yeah, Miranda Lee is definitely on our minds for sure. All right, so let's get into it. I just wanted to hold on a second. I'm going to share this. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with this Ladybird Lake thing, but I did a live on that this morning, and they found another body. I think it was yesterday, and I'm not trying to stir up some controversy here because they could be all. They're basically all saying they're accidental, and that's definitely true. It could be true, but I've been monitoring this. It's just there's been now 13 in 2 years, so it's just a little strange. So here's some of the locations of where these bodies were found here. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they all seem to be in this general area here. But let me hold on a second. I'll play what I played last night here. It's just a little strange to me, but like I said, it's. I mean, it could be just. Actually, I'm gonna do it this way since I have so much shit saved here. Two days ago. So let's play this. I played this last night. I'll share this for a second. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. It's absolutely gorgeous here right now. The mosquitoes aren't terrible right now either. So, all right, let's stop that, and then we'll go to this here. So this is the latest from Law and Crime Sidebar here. Fears of a Texas SK in Austin. 13th body washes up from Ladybird Lake. And they've already kind of dubbed this guy the Rainy Street Ripper, even though authorities haven't really said that any of these are connected to an SKer, but we'll just check this out here really quick.
The Rainy Street Ripper, a name that's been coined for a possible serial killer in Texas, but is this real? Multiple deaths in Austin, Texas, near a popular nighttime hotspot of Rainy Street have caused people to believe that a murderer is on the loose. But is the Ripper responsible? Does the Rainy Street Ripper even exist? Police say no. Others disagree. We're going to talk with former FBI and CIA agent Tracy Walder, who's been following this case since the first body turned up in 2022. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. So for the last 2 years, dead bodies.
Thank you, Necessarily Evil. I know she was in Steve's chat tonight. Hello, Miranda. There you are. Just gave you a shout out. I don't like to talk to people about people when they're here, but we're all thinking about you, Miranda. We care about you quite a bit. I know it's not easy to go through shit like that. Trust me, it's but hope you're doing well. All right, let's get back to this here.
Bodies have been found on a mile-long stretch of the Colorado River between the Lamar Boulevard Bridge and Ladybird Lake out in Austin, Texas. It's about a half hour's walk from the Rainy Street neighborhood, and that is a trendy night spot with pubs, restaurants.
So this is the area basically where they've been found. I'll try to pull up the map I had last night. Of course, I'll probably never find it now. But this is kind of where all of these. This is the Colorado River here that leads into this lake here. But if you look at this district here, there's bars and stuff, there's bridges, there's everything. So and I've tried to find some statistics on how many people um, unalive themselves in this lake or this part of the stretch of the waterway here every year, because that'll give me a estimate of whether it's up or down or not. But I do know statistically, countrywide, those types of unalivings are up 10% from 2017, I think. So,
food trucks, the place where the Rainy Street Ripper got his name, or her name. We're going to get to that in a second, because the latest body was found just a...
I mean, I kind of consider us all to be kind of some sort of a family here. Southern Gal, too. I love to promote her channel because I think her channel is fantastic. But we all in this together. I think it just sucks, when one of us has to go through that. I know my father passed away not last year, year before last, I think, and it was kind of unexpected. So I know what it. I know what nobody ever, kind of prepares you for that kind of stuff. So we're thinking about you for sure.
Week ago, as Austin police had reported.
On July 5th at approximately 5:30 p.m., officers responded to the Waller Beach at Town Lake Metro Park, located near Rainy Street and Cummings Street, in reference to a check welfare urgent call for service, which is a high priority call for service that requires an immediate police response. This call for service was responded to in a timely manner. Call text advised the complainant located a white male with apparent life-threatening injuries to his body. The Austin Fire Department, Austin Travis County EMS, and the Austin Police Department arrived on scene, and unfortunately, the victim was pronounced deceased at approximately 5:45 p.m.
Now, this man is still unidentified, and there were news reports that once he was removed, there were, quote, thick pools of blood between the path and the water's edge. And what kind of injuries could have caused that much bleeding?
They're just some type of blunt force trauma to the body. I don't really have any specific injuries.
Now, Officer Zarling also played down the idea that this death had any connection to the Rainy Street Ripper or any other kind of killer.
This is not being investigated as a homicide at this time, and all investigative steps being taken are routine measures. At this time, this is being considered an isolated incident, and there's no known threat to the general public. I spoke to homicide detectives, and there's no serial killer at this time.
The public is always going to be the last to know when these things happen. I'm not suggesting that there's an SKer involved in this. I'm a little suspicious, though. But they said the same thing in Oregon last couple of years. Everybody was saying that there was some association with all those girls that were being found out there, and they said, nope, not an SKer, not an SKer. And then all of a sudden, yep, it's an SKer. So they sometimes hide stuff too, just to kind of keep it in house, I think. But I'm not saying this is. I'm just. I'm going to keep following this because 13 seems to be a lot in 2 years. It's just my opinion, and most of them are males. So I think 11 were males and 2 were female. I'll have to look it up again. I've done a few lives on this, but all right, what the hell was I doing? All right, here we go.
At least we don't believe there is one.
However, while police initially reported the cause of death to be blunt force trauma, 2 days later, they changed that to a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and therefore it will not be treated as a homicide. So what about...
I know, Miranda, it just sucks. I always tried, when I was younger, very, very young, I tried to prepare myself for, it's just your parents are your parents, right? I mean, and they always kind of look the same through the years, but you just never expect, things like that to happen. It just sucks. I feel for you for sure.
About the persistent claims that the Rainy Street Ripper stalks the area, a killer largely targeting gay men who frequent the Rainy Street nightlife. That has been one of the allegations. Terrified residents, they've set up Facebook groups. One has more than 90,000 followers to voice their growing fears that the deaths may in fact be connected. Then there was this report that in April, a bartender on the entertainment strip claimed a patron told him he was the Rainy Street Ripper and that he was attacking men in the nearby waterway, posting on Reddit that the bartender recalled that the man suddenly started talking about killing, and there's a derogatory word that he uses for gay men, from Ladybird Lake that he found from Rainy Street. He was clearly...
Yeah, he's definitely trying to avoid me, Dean. He does his lives too early. Like sometimes he'll do them at 7 or 8 o'clock. I understand he moved and stuff like that, but I just missed it. I didn't get up until like about 5 or 6. We got some pretty good thunderstorms last night that I had to drive through. So I got home a little bit later this morning and I did my live and then I went to bed. And when I'm sleeping, man, if somebody doesn't wake me up, I could literally sleep all day and all night. I'm old. Yeah. Comforts of bed. Sometimes I don't even want to get up. Like, what am I going to have to deal with today, right? Yeah, I meant to get over there. I watched some of the replay, but then I had to go out. Everybody in my house was gone to Old Homes Day today, so I had the house to myself. So I did some cleaning, and then it came on here. So there we go. But I did miss Rick's awesome. Truly appreciate Rick.
Angry and was saying in a low voice.
Don't agree with him all the time. I mean, I don't agree with everybody, but doesn't mean I want to push him off a cliff. So people can have different opinions. I get it. All right.
But I know what I heard. And he described the client as a white man in his 40s, about 5'10" tall, with a muscular build, brownish light hair. That same month, a man named Jeff Jones reported he was attacked by this Ripper, but lived to tell the tale. He said he'd been drugged, then plummeted 25 feet off a bridge, narrowly avoiding being drowned.
It's something that life doesn't prepare you for. You always, I guess you always have it in the back of your mind. But at the same time, you expect these people to be around forever, and they're just not. And the older you get, it's like my brother just died last year, sudden heart attack. So it's just, I mean, how many more people? When it hits close to home like that, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I was woken up literally in the middle of the day, and I was told my brother died. I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, it does hit you hard.
He woke up in the hospital more than 2 weeks later after doctors had implanted metal rods to hold his back together. And Jeff said that whoever they may be just missed the target, and I hit the ground. And luckily, because of that, I didn't drown. I just got lucky.
All right, so I kind of want to hold on a second. I want to go here to the Rainy Street location here. So let's take a drive. Here's Rainy Street. And as you can see, this is, where the hell am I? Nope. Shit. Rainy Street is right here. I want to be on Rainy Street. Okay, so let's go this way here. Nope, I'm going the wrong way. Hold on a second. So you can see this is pretty... I'm not good at maps. I need Mexi here. So where am I going to go this way here? Am I going the right way? So I'm going to try to go as close to the lake river as possible. What the? I'm not good at this. I'm sorry, guys. All right, well, I'll come back to this. I'll get us to where we need to be, and then I'll come back to this. want to get there because
Not many people can say they potentially survived a
you got to be
serial
careful.
killer, so that's a story.
You got to be careful of these people here too, because sometimes, depending on their psyche or mental evaluation here, I'm not saying he's lying. I'm not saying, but sometimes,
People can say they potentially survived a serial killer, so that's a story I can tell, I guess. Well, let's actually take a closer look at the people who weren't as lucky. The bodies of 11 men and 2 women have been found in the last 2 years, and here's what we know about their deaths. So it seems
yeah, I don't get involved. That's why I don't do a lot of lives on Delphi. I just, it's crazy. It's just kind of crazy. If there's actual news coming out, then I'll try to cover it. But I've done enough. I've done enough on the case, but I don't get involved in the back and forth bullshit. I just don't. I understand it though. I mean, there's only so much you can put up with, slander and all of that stuff without, then you got to kind of fight back. I'm just, I have my own theories on Delphi, but I mean, there's other cases. I mean, not like I don't feel for the Delphi case, the poor kids that got unalived. I mean, it's just sickening. It's awful. I know Mr. Steve had his live on the Evansdale case too. There's so many cases that are going on. It's hard sometimes to concentrate on just one freaking case. Doesn't mean I don't have sympathy. It's just
the first was back in July of 2022. 59-year-old Ricky Parks, and then in December of that year, 25-year-old.
Thank you, Heather. I adore you too. I adore everybody in the chat. Everybody's great. But with Rick, when they wanted to do a week-long Flora thing, I think this was last year. I think because the case kind of wasn't getting any attention. He stepped right up. He stepped right up and gave the floor to some of the people that knew the case, Kathy, and so I have all the respect for him because he didn't have to do that. Nobody has to do that, but he did it.
Year-old Christopher Gutierrez. The Austin Police Department found no foul play in either death. The investigations have been closed. In December of 2022, also 45.
I mean, people like Rick. Rick's been involved in that Delphi case for forever. I didn't start going live until I think it was 2022, maybe 2021, late 2021. But there's been so much slander in that, especially for the family. The family's just been treated with a punching bag. It just sucks. It's just so horrible. I can't stand it. Kelsey, Abby's mom's gone through shit, and the bullshit that Tobe came out and said about Libby's mom, it's just, unfortunately, law enforcement's done their own damage in that case. So I understand the drama. I just, it is what it is.
Year-old Josu Moreno's body was found. He was the first victim whose death was actually ruled a homicide. Moreno was shot in his car while driving. His vehicle was plunged into the Ladybird Lake. There was an arrest for his murder, though. Joel Santiago Gonzalez Padron. Hey there, everybody. This episode of Sidebar is sponsored by Truth Finder, and it makes sense since we cover a lot of stories where we have to ask ourselves, how well do we really know? Kyle Thornton was found dead. The Austin PD determined there was no foul play. Investigation was closed there. 2023, 5 bodies were pulled out of the lake, starting with 30-year-old Jason John in February. His death was ruled an accidental drowning, and so was the death of 33-year-old Jonathan Honey 2 months later. Both men were last seen separately on Rainey Street before their disappearances. Jason was walking home. His family seems to believe there's more to the story of his death, though, because Elsie John, Jason's mom, said Jason was 30. Jonathan Honey was 33. 2 in the morning, Rainey Street. So there were some similarities in the case. And she fears that more men may end up dead. We don't know how many Jasons and how many Jonathans are going to be losing their lives again, and this is not acceptable. Elsie Johns said that her family is going through such unimaginable sorrow and despair over the past few weeks that they do not want another family to face the heartbreaking pain that they've experienced when they were searching for their son. And she asked police to make all the necessary actions to protect the life of the people of Austin near and at Ladybird Lake. Then we have 40-year-old Clifton Axtell was found in Ladybird Lake around the same time as Jason and Jonathan after he went missing near a downtown bar. He was a married father of two. His cause of death was ruled undetermined. 2 weeks later, 30-year-old Christopher Hayes Clark's death was said to have had no foul play or suspicious circumstances. His death and
Yeah, I mean, two things I'll probably never get involved in is politics and religion in this chat. But I do, it's not like I live in a cave. But all right, so I want to go, hold on a second here. I want to go back to my wonderful map. So here's basically, oh God, let's get back down into here. All right, so this is the lake here. It's not letting me get down there. I'll have to do this later, I guess. But this is right on the water here. So if you walk out here, you see bars here. So, I mean, it's possible that, people walk out of, these establishments here. I mean, alcohol and water don't mix very good at all. But you can see there's nothing here. And this is right, basically, right off of the trailhead here. So you can walk down here. There's nothing saving people from, it's a beautiful place, but I can see the dangers and stuff of, people walking out here. I know there's some bridges around too. So just wanted to give people a idea of where we were at here with the lake. Maniacs that live everywhere. There's, I thought we were going to church on Sunday. That's fucking classic. We love Heather. Heather's freaking phenomenal. That's too funny. Let's go back to this. If I'm waking up on Sunday to go to church, there's a problem because I'll be going in a casket. Roy and let's go back here. Okay.
those of 3 additional people, including 2 women, were not investigated as homicides. There was an unidentified woman.
I mean, ask anybody in my house, right? If I get woken up before, I would say before, because I work nights. So I've always said people who work nights need a little extra sleep than people who don't. But if I get woken up before 12 o'clock or so, and I don't have coffee, I ain't going anywhere. It's not going to happen. Just not, I won't make it.
Age unknown. Then we have Maga Dogal, discovered in June 2023, age also unknown. And then the unidentified man found most recently on July 5th. The autopsies on the people who died this year were not available, but police say their bodies showed no signs of trauma. The latest, as we said, appeared to have been from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, I should tell you that police investigations here, they have consistently found that most of the deaths are accidental and that they share a combination of alcohol and easy access points to Ladybird Lake. Austin Parks and Rec have installed better lighting along with fences and warning signs near the lake. So far, there's no surveillance cameras. I should point that out. But now to sum it up, Austin Police Department Assistant Chief Jeff Greenwald said, there are a lot of allegations that there's a serial killer, but there's no proof or evidence in any of our investigations to sustain that. And police say that while each incident occurred at the lake, the circumstances, exact locations, and demographics surrounding these cases vary.
There's a lot of allegations that there's an SKR, but there's no proof or evidence in any of our investigations to sustain that. The circumstances, exact locations, demographics surrounding these cases vary. So let me, I want to go here. I got some statistics that I can find. Not a lot. Hey, Miss Persevere, how are you? Good to see you. Oh, I want to go here. Miss Persevere's here. Where is she? Right there. Miss Persevere's here. She has a great channel too, so if you can check her channel out, feel free to put your channel in here if you want. Anybody that has a channel, even anybody that knows somebody that has a channel, feel free to post it here. The more information we can get out, the better. I'm not going to hijack the chat. If you guys want to post channels, Southern Gal's in here. Southern Gal has a fantastic live channel. Like her channel is just amazing. All right, so let's. Did I just do this yet? Okay, so I did some. So this is. I forget who this is. This is not the same Meow Meow that we know, but Meow Meow. This is some statistics. I don't know how recent this is. I think this goes up to 2018, but I know that from 2018, 2019, 20, 21, 22, accidental unalivings in lakes, rivers, pools has gone up like 10%. So between 50 and 65% of Americans cannot swim well or at all. So I don't know where that comes from. Like I said this morning on my live, we were always in water, whether it was lakes, rivers, pools, oceans, and we had to know how to swim. So I don't know if that's been fading over time. Because I went, where did I go? I went to YMCA when I was a kid to learn how to swim. I had my father forced us to go to learn how to swim. Some people are actually natural swimmers. They just know. My brother was a natural swimmer. There were 24,199 of these in the U.S. from 2009 to 2018. 3,900 under the age of 4. 2,046 between 5 and 12, and a little over 2,700 from 13 to 19. And this is those 21% are in pools, 25, almost 26% lakes, 27 are rivers. And this was shocking to me that only 10% in oceans. And then these are the 3 highest states. I don't know if this has changed from 2018, but this is 1,945 in Florida, which makes sense. Texas, 1,857, which makes sense. In California at 1,810. And these are all, heavily surrounded by water here. Only 1% of parents surveyed said unaliving was a home safety concern, yet that is the leading cause of injury-related unalivings. And I mean, the children get hit hard, 1 to 4. That's like the highest. All right, so let's get back to this here, and then we'll move on to something else. Because there's a lot of shit going on this week.
Cases remain under investigation. Well, now I want to turn to Tracy Walder, former FBI agent, CIA officer, national security contributor at News Nation, and author of The Unexpected Spy. Tracy, so good to have you. And I will tell you, I didn't know that you have been following this for years.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me, Jesse. In a way, I feel like I'm kind of banging my head against a wall with this. I have been making TikToks and
Same here, Dandy. Same here. Yeah, I can get the Southern Gal. Is Southern Gal still in here? Maybe not. She's probably tired. She had a good live last night. Great live.
Instagrams and going on News Nation to talk about this for about 2 years now. It's something I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I tend to sometimes be overly logical, But it's more than just Austin. I mean, we have the same situation going on in Chicago, in the Chicago River. 16 bodies have been found since 2022. In Austin, 13 have been found since 2022. And the consistency, I think, with which we're seeing this, in my opinion, doesn't seem accidental and doesn't seem random. And that's why I wish that we were looking into this more, and maybe there were.
See, that's what I mean, this, okay, good, Southern Gal. I don't know. This sounds suspicious to me. It just does. But what the hell do I know?
There's more interagency communication.
Let's explore that a little bit. And yes, I will couple that and say, I have been on with Tracy so many times. You are one of the most logical, rational, reasonable people. You do not jump to conclusions. So for you to say something seems off here and we have 13 bodies, now someone could look at this and say, wait a minute, these could all be accidents. These could all be people getting drunk, and it's a, nightlife area. Do you suspect that there is a serial killer here, or do you suspect that their deaths might just be more than what they're initially determined to be?
That's a great question, and I'm going to give somewhat of a confusing answer, if that's okay. I think it's a combination of both. I do think that some of these are truly accidental. This is an area that's right near University of Texas at Austin. It is an area, right, where people are over-consuming alcohol, and
I'm the same way. I don't think I've ever voted. I might have once or twice. I don't know.
It wasn't heavily fenced prior to all of this, and there were, as you mentioned before, very easy access points. However, I think some of these deaths, particularly the ones that had been labeled undetermined, and then the fact that the police went from blunt force trauma to oops, gunshot wound to the head.
She brings up a good point that some of these could be connected and some of these might not be connected. But I don't know. Whenever I hear there's like 13 in a short, 2 years is not that long of a time.
So quickly, within a matter of hours, that lends itself, in my opinion, to the idea that there may be someone out there doing this purposely. And I want to take it one step further.
Because I don't think there is I can't find any statistics on adults, breaking down adult victims, whether they're male, female, when it comes to accidental unalivings in water, especially lakes. I haven't been able to find anything solid as far as a
and say that this may be going on in other states as well. And I think that is the concern that I have. We see an uptick of bodies being found in Austin. We see a downtick of bodies in Chicago. And then when we see an uptick of bodies in Chicago, there's a downtick of bodies in Austin. It's very strange.
What do you mean by that? Because again, somebody could say, look, this is an area, like there's a lot of areas across the country where it might be an area where people.
So this is a pretty big area. It's a pretty big city here. Austin's a big city. So, there's a lake around a big city. You're gonna have some accidental unalivings in water. It's just probably a statistical thing, but I haven't, I've been able to come up with statistics about the lake, the depth of the lake, the river that leads to it and stuff like that. But in a city this big, you're probably going to have some per year.
They commit a crime. This is where they dump evidence. This is where they dump bodies. This could be an area where it's frequented. But what do you mean by the connection between Chicago and Austin and when that death rate? Walk us through exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So as I mentioned, I've been following this for a couple.
To me, it just seems weird that most of the victims are guys, especially adult guys.
Couple years. And so I just started basically doing my own research, to be honest with you. And it really started out with something called the smiley face killer up in New York. The problem with that is that they were saying, the person had to leave a smiley face in graffiti. And I think that just happened to be random graffiti at the site of a crime. And I think a lot of these got kind of dismissed as that they weren't all connected because they didn't have a smiley face. And I think
unfortunately, Aspen Connor's great too. What was I just saying? I was just saying something. Good Lord, I'm getting old. I'll remember at some point.
that was misidentified at the beginning. But what I'm seeing is you'll see a cluster of 2 to 3 bodies being pulled out in pretty quick succession within the span of, I'd say, a week or two of the Chicago River, and then nothing for a few months in Austin. And then in Austin, you will see the reverse happening. So this cluster of bodies kind of showing up, 2, 3, and then nothing in Chicago for a while. And so it makes me wonder, is this the same person going back and forth? Is this some kind of a trucker route, right? That's where I start to wonder.
I mean, I know that, see, now I just forgot again. God damn it.
Are these the same person? Are these different people?
But how difficult?
I mean, if you're going to get rid of somebody, this is probably the best way to do it, you know, because if you get rid of somebody in water, right, you're going to get rid of pretty much all of the evidence. Yeah, I have issues. I have tons of issues. Just ask my wife. But I mean, it's the best. I mean, one of the best ways to get rid of people if you don't want any evidence is to toss them in a river or a lake. Not saying that that's what's happening here, but especially if they've been in there for a while, the decomposition in water, I'm sure, is a lot worse than depending on what's in that lake there for predators and stuff.
Well, would it be for one person to keep on doing this?
I mean, in my opinion, not very. We have seen serial killers crossing state lines multiple times, particularly ones that have jobs that are transient in nature, right? You know, we have seen that.
I got that issue where you purposely walk into a room for something and then you forget why the hell you're in the room. I've literally gotten in the car to go get some stuff from the store, and if I don't make a freaking list, forget it. I might not come back with anything at all. It's just so awful. Terrible.
That has been documented. One of my FBI colleagues just wrote a book actually on that as well. And so I don't want to say it's easy. Of course, it's not easy, any stretch. But part of me does wonder if maybe we're seeing something even more unusual, and that it's a group, right, who's doing this in different cities. That's highly unusual. We've never seen something like that before. But in this day and age of social media and secure channels,
I love the chat. Like, the chat is the best ever. You guys are awesome. I've got issues. I want the truth. Exactly.
it wouldn't surprise me if someone did something like that.
Are you also looking at the victimology? You're looking at similarities between the victims. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so the similarities.
So, missing 33-year-old male, last seen wearing black t-shirt and blue jeans, missing since 2 p.m. on March 31st. Rainy Street at a taco truck. So, I don't know. It's
in my opinion, just from the research I've done, there seems to be a bigger age span in Austin than there is in Chicago, in terms of just age, right? We're looking at in some cases it's like a 20-year age gap. But the reality is most.
And it's so frustrating to my wife because she'll tell me something and then like 4 hours later she'll ask me about it, and I'm like, what? I don't remember you saying anything like that. But her mind is like a freaking recording. She can literally, yes, Frosty's awesome. Frosty's great. I always see Miss Persevere in Frosty's chat. Unfortunately, Frosty goes live at night. So I'm usually driving around when Frosty's live. But yeah, his chat's great. And if I selective hearing, shoo the secret's out, buddy. If I'm in a live, like when I'm driving around and I'm not responding to people, it's not because I can't. It's just I'm usually trying to avoid animals and shit like that. Oh, you're going to be on the panel this week? Well, I'm going to have to tune in for that. But yeah, my wife is completely frustrated, for sure.
Most of them are, I'd say, kind of upper middle class, males. Yes, we have some females that are mixed into there. I don't think sexuality plays a role because they have been all different sexualities that I have seen. There are some that have been straight, some that have been gay, all, kind of all across the board. So I'm not sure that that plays a role in the victimology.
All right, so let's get out of here. I'm going to go and I'll keep an eye on this. I've been keeping an eye on this for 2 years now. So I just think it's really weird myself. Also, I found out that there's swimming is not allowed in that lake at all. So that's another problem. All right, so let's go to this douchebag because there's more information. Yes, there's a lady owl. Surrounded by women here in this house, so that could be one of the reasons why I have short-term memory. I'm like the lowest person on the totem pole in this house. If somebody's coming for me for advice or help, all else has failed here. I'm the dumbest one in the house. Yes, that was in Texas. That was Austin, Texas. Yeah, I got that. Can't remember shit, right? Problem. All right, so let's go here to this. This is really awful. This guy here is so guilty. It's not. That's just my opinion. So they two things happened here with this guy here. They got some exchanges between him and his mom. This is going to be a little bit disturbing, I think, for people. But you just get a load of this piece of dog shit. What he says in these. And there was 2 cars, so I'll play that too. But this is the Madeline Soto thing, and this piece of dog crap, Stephen Stearns.
Forensic study says Stephen Stearns could be holding on to bombshell information he thinks could eventually get him out of jail.
Yes, Stearns is the man charged.
This was done a day ago.
With abusing and killing 13-year-old Madeline Soto. Watch 2's Megan Mulatto joins us now from our Osceola County Bureau. And Megan, this comes after we reviewed recently released documents.
Yeah, the documents released to us by the state attorney's office on Thursday detail a conversation between Stearns and who appeared.
Thank you for all the likes, and really appreciate it. I'm never going to come in here and say, please like my channel, please subscribe, whatever. You guys do good enough. I appreciate all the people who do. I also appreciate everybody who watches the replay. I know there's a big replay crew in my lives because I come on so damn late. But I do appreciate it all. If you want to like. If you don't. That's all.
Here to meet his parents. Now, in that conversation, Stearns tell them that he still has, quote, hope for his situation. That makes a professor of forensic studies that we spoke.
But just wait till you hear what he says. It's just complaining about the coffee, complaining about, my God, this guy is so, it's just annoying.
With think that Stearns is holding on to some vital information. The documents show Stephen Stearns telling his family that, quote, there is still perhaps a slim hope for my situation, adding he might be able to come home once.
Look at this. This guy, the thing is I don't understand is why people still talk in prison, in jail, right? They know that you're listening. They're listening, so it's so weird, but...
Once this whole nasty business has reached its end. We asked Professor of Forensics.
I really do appreciate it, Heather. Thank you so much.
Studies at Florida Gulf Coast University, Dr. David Thomas, for his thoughts on that statement. He says hope of coming home could likely mean he's holding on to something that could get him a lesser sentence.
There's no doubt there's information.
Also, too, I don't say it enough. Frankie from the think tank is absolutely amazing. She's another one that I wish I could follow more on her lives, but again, it's the whole freaking night thing. I try to watch the replays as much as I pretty much can. But Frankie, I've been watching Frankie for a long time. Frankie is the think tank. She's freaking awesome.
information that law enforcement doesn't have.
Her laugh is literally contagious. I mean, her laugh is.
And so whenever he decides to drop that bomb, if there is a legitimate bomb that he's going to drop, this hidden information, then I think that he's hoping that that's going to get him off the hook.
The documents also reveal an email sent to Stearns from his mom with accusations that someone else was, quote, heavily involved in this. His mom is upset that someone else is free, saying, quote, when this is not all your fault. That person's name is not public record. Dr. Thomas says the conversation points to the potential hidden information being about that other person.
I think he's looking for the prime opportunity or the prime time, sit down and maybe have that conversation, maybe try to get offer a deal with the state in order to get in order to maybe take the death penalty off the table.
For now, Stearns is the only person facing charges in this case. He's facing murder charges in the death of 13-year-old Madeline Soto, as well as 60 other charges.
It is kind of interesting that they kind of implicate some other actors in this, but they could be just doing that just to get, some, sympathy. I don't know. It's just
Involving child sex crimes after police say he abused her for years. His trial is set to begin in mid-October. We're live in our Osceola County Bureau. Megan Mulatto, WESH 2 News.
What did I just do?
New documents released today shed more light on Stephen Stearns, the man accused of sexual battery on a child and for the murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto.
Those documents include several back and forth conversations.
Thank you, Dandy, for throwing that in there. Frankie is awesome. Frankie and Southern Gal. All of these channels are just absolutely. They bring a lot of interest in cases that don't get a lot of attention. And that's what I want. That's what we want. We want some of these cases that don't get a lot of attention to get some, at least some attention for sure.
Between Stearns and presumably his family. Well, she's Luana Munoz is live in studio tonight. And Luana, you've been pouring through these conversations. What exactly do they entail?
Summer, Stephen Stearns goes back and forth again with his mother and who we believe might be his father, Chris Stearns. Stephen Stearns seems to believe that there's still some hope for his case, while his mother makes reference to others possibly being involved. One day after Stephen Stearns' trial was delayed, the state attorney's office released this 64-page.
This guy is just such a big piece of dog shit. I mean, some of this stuff is just, I think he's delusional. I really do.
Document of email correspondence between Stearns and who appears to be his parents. The conversation starts off with Stearns complaining about life in isolation, saying, quote, it's not exactly the Ritz, it's a small cell and the pod is quite noisy.
Get used to it. You're going to be there for a long time. The mat is flat and has very little cushion left. Yeah. Tell that to Madeline Soto, you piece of dog crap. My God. Filthy, has some spots in the wall. Oh my God.
That is flat and has very little cushion left. The cell is small, filthy, and has some spots on the wall that appear to be bloody fingerprints. He later complains of his coffee supply running low and continues to ask for a book. It's an odd conversation for the 38-year-old accused of 60 counts of sexual battery of a child.
They literally have this guy in the car with her body. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. You just can't.
And for the murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. Detectives say Stearns is seen on surveillance video driving around with Soto's dead body in his car.
That's what I said this morning and a couple times. Kissimmee and Orlando, Florida, you can't go anywhere without being on film. You just can't do it. They got CCTV everywhere. The traffic lights, toll booths, any business will have any like condominium development. You can't go into from anywhere over there without being on film. So, in my opinion, they had this guy probably day one. The place where he supposedly left her, there might not be a lot of camera footage, but they literally have him coming and going twice, I think.
before allegedly dumping her in a rural field in February. In an email dated June 25th, Stearns tells his family, quote, "There's still perhaps a slim hope for my situation." He goes on to say, "I maintain hope that I might be able to come home once this whole nasty..."
If this guy doesn't get the DP, then there's something wrong with the DP, in my opinion.
business has reached its end, and ask that you both remain hopeful as well and continue to pray for me to be delivered home again. A redacted email is then sent back to Stearns, signed Mom, that alludes to some accusations. She says, "We all know Redacted was heavily involved in this."
See, this is a little interesting here, what she says, but I don't know. He could be feeding his mother a whole bunch of bullshit. Yeah.
And I'm disgusted that she's free and you're not, when this is not all your fault. You need to think about yourself more and her less. She sure isn't thinking about you and how she can help you right now. That whole family is willing to stay quiet and let you take the fall for everything.
You know, when it comes to kids, man, I don't have any I don't have any mercy at all. You know, this kid didn't deserve anything like this. She didn't, and I don't have any. If there's other people involved, they all need to go face their penalty. So, you know, I'm just going to let law enforcement try to figure that out. But for right now, I know that this guy here, in my opinion, is definitely guilty, and he deserves the worst punishment that could possibly happen. Leave the freaking kids alone, man. And he's been doing this for a while. This is something that he was. It was just my opinion, but I'm pretty sure that he was grooming her. He probably had her convinced that this was normal. All of this stuff. It's sick. It's awful. Terrible.
She goes on to say, quote, "I think of the craziness Redacted lived through with Redacted's various partners, not a stable life for a child at all. I do pray for Redacted and you daily."
Well, Stearns' trial was expected to start next week, but just yesterday, his attorney asked that be pushed back. His new trial date is now scheduled for October 14th.
And if you think that trial is going to happen in October, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. It's just not going to happen. All right, so let's do this. This is about the second car that was tracked. I did this morning too.
Tonight, we've got some new details in the disappearance and murder of 13.
So apparently they tracked his Lincoln, but at about 3:00 in the morning, there was another car that was tracked too. But here we go.
Year-old Madeline Soto. To get you up to speed here, Madeline was reported missing on February 26th after not showing up at school. Her mom's boyfriend, Stefan Stearns, was arrested days later.
I also don't believe that law enforcement bought his story at all. I think they were onto him right from the beginning.
Later on sexual battery charges. Her body was found March 1st in Osceola County. Authorities now believe
there's a reason why this Madeline Soto wanted to go live in the woods by herself. It's my opinion.
Believe Stearns killed Soto at her Kissimmee apartment, then dumped that body miles away in St. Cloud. Now we're learning a second car traveled to the location where the teen's body was later found. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest explains.
Shortly after Madeline Soto was reported missing, detectives pieced together the movements of Stefan Stearns' car using license plate readers, traffic cameras, and other surveillance cameras. Now, I've been going through some of the evidence released by prosecutors and discovered detectives also traced the movements of a second car. Stefan Stearns has pleaded not guilty to sexually molesting and murdering Madeline Soto. If convicted, he faces the death penalty. Stearns originally told investigators that he dropped the 13-year-old off at school, but she never came home. Authorities now say that was a lie.
I mean, this...
off at school.
Whoops. This is the victim right here, right? So... I mean, this kid had so much in front of her, you know, could have been anything, right? it's just absolutely horrible. There's absolutely no reason for this person to not be here right now. It just sucks.
Told investigators that he dropped the 13-year-old off at school, but she never came home. Authorities now say that was a lie. On February 26th, the day that Soto was reported missing, detectives say they were able to trace the movements of a silver Lincoln that was driven by Stearns. Around 12:49 in the afternoon, the Lincoln was caught on camera leaving.
Yeah, I probably should do more triggering stuff. Definitely triggering. This is brutal. This is just absolutely horrible. There's no way to hide this stuff. It's this poor kid, just nightmarish. See, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of video or CCTV around this location here, but there might be.
Leaving the Venetian Bay Village Apartments in Kissimmee, where Soto lived with her mom. The car was then photographed multiple times as it traveled east towards St. Cloud and Old Hickory Tree Drive. That's just blocks from where detectives would later find Soto's body. After remaining in that area for about an hour, detectives say the silver Lincoln returned to the apartment the same way, arriving back around 2:43 p.m. That was on February 26th. The very next morning, around 3:18 a.m.,
so here's 3:18 a.m. Who's leaving this apartment at 3 a.m. to go out back to where the body was found, right? It just, this lake, I said this morning, actually it looks like Mickey Mouse. You got the two ears here and the...
Detectives say a different car, a white Nissan, left the apartment complex and took nearly the exact same route down to Old Hickory Tree Drive. After spending about a half hour in the area where Soto's body was later...
I mean, if she is guilty, I'll say this, because I don't know, my jury's out for me on whether or not she's guilty or not. But if she is guilty, then they're probably trying to build a case against her too, and maybe that's why they're trying to definitely record some of the information going back and forth between him and his mom. All right, buddy, have a good night, pal. Thanks for coming in, appreciate it. Thank you, Dean.
Found, the white Nissan headed back to the apartment. Now, records released by prosecutors do not indicate who owned that white Nissan, and the reports do not say whether investigators believe it was Stearns or someone else traveling in the Nissan that morning. There are still a lot of unanswered questions about Madeline Soto's death. I expect to learn a lot more as prosecutors continue to build their case against Stearns. Mike DeForest, News 6.
All right, so I think that's the end of that. I do want to go here to this here while I come up with the other stuff. Let's do this here. This is
one of the best conversations that I...
This is going to be, this was done 2 days ago. And then I want to go to the missing in the Bahamas person there.
Have had in a long time about what happened at 1122 King Road in Idaho a year and a half ago was with Harvey Levin of TMZ fame. Harvey's a lawyer, and he has a long, long history of covering crime and justice. So imagine my surprise when he raised doubts about whether Brian Kohlberger could have pulled off that quadruple murder all by himself. He is not entirely convinced that a guy with no history of violent crime went floor to floor in a big house and killed 4 young people with only one knife. And Harvey says a jury might have a problem with that too.
Well, look, I mean, there is a lot of evidence here that links Brian Kohlberger to this crime. That said, I just do find it weird. And this is not to say that he did or didn't do it. But Ashley, somebody who has never committed a murder or, as far as we know, even a violent crime, going to a house that has 3 levels, 6 people inside and a dog, where he would go up to the 3rd floor, kill 2 people, go down to the 2nd floor, kill 2 more, knowing that there are other people in the house. And the only thing he's armed with is a knife, doing that with 6 people. never having committed a crime before, knowing that one of the people in the house is a guy who's much more athletic, bigger than him, who could have heard a scream when he killed the first two people, and he could have overpowered him. It's a little weird, don't you think?
Well, I was going to say you missed your calling as a defense attorney, but you didn't, because TMZ is really, really popular and successful. So you're doing just fine. But I will say this. I have a theory, Harvey Levin, and that is this. If he's guilty, and I have to preface, if he's guilty of this crime, he showed up thinking there'd be 5 girls. And he didn't expect a boy to be sleeping over, a very big boy, Ethan Chapin. And maybe, just maybe, that stunned him. He was overwhelmed, and the battle became pitched. And that was enough for him to say, after the 3rd victim, and then suddenly a very large 4th victim, that he needed to get out of there. What do you think of that?
I hear you. But I do think that he knew that Ethan was around that house a lot, because he had stalked the house, if you believe the prosecutors, that they have numerous, they have evidence that he had gone there numerous times and just watched the house. So it sounds like he knew the lay of the land inside, which means he knew who was there. And Ethan's girlfriend was there, which is why he was there. And he slept over. So I don't know that he'd be oblivious to Ethan being there. But, you know, again, even if Ethan wasn't there.
I just think people sometimes, in my opinion, overthink these things. But that's just my opinion. It's my opinion. This guy was obviously on a mission. You don't do this stuff if you're not on a mission. You are literally. It's my opinion. This guy was a budding SKer. There's no doubt in my mind, and he just thought he was going to get away with it. He didn't.
There. When he does this to the first person, you would assume there would be screams and that other people would wake up and see him. And unless he planned on taking everybody out of the house, somebody's going to ID this guy and it's game over. So look, again, I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying the circumstances are boldly weird here, that he would
boldly weird.
Get away with
yes. Yeah, I'm with you. I have always thought this, like, if he's guilty, how is it that a PhD student in criminology could think that you could pull it off? But for the fact it's a party house, and maybe that was the equation. Any of the screaming is going to.
He almost did. I mean, he almost did get away with it. If he doesn't leave, and again, this is just my opinion, if he doesn't leave touch DNA on that knife sheath, he probably would have gotten away with it. I think that's basically how they ID'd him.
To be written off as partying. And as it turns out, from some of the early affidavits, Dylan Mortensen said that she heard Kaylee, it sounded like she was playing with her dog. Likely she was being murdered. And then she heard Xana whimpering and someone saying, you know, it's okay, I'm here to help. And that Dylan didn't think anything of it because it's a party house and it's so noisy.
Well,
also, my opinion is he came in through the sliding door. He unalived the 2 people who were awake first. Or tried to, then went upstairs and attacked the 2 girls, then came back downstairs and checked on the other 2 to make sure that they were unalived, and they weren't. So he ended up unaliving the 3rd girl, and then he left. And this is just my opinion now. I'm not going to say it's not just an opinion because it's just an opinion, but I feel like he left the other person alive because he wanted somebody to call 911. And that's why he came back to the crime scene later in the morning, because he was trying to watch himself on the news or watch the whole thing on the news. And nobody had reported it yet. So he tried to come back to find out why nobody reported it yet. That's just my opinion. This guy is a criminal psychopath, and he definitely wanted the attention, and that's why he left the other person alive. It's just me.
Okay, but it was also 4:30 in the morning when this happened, and usually that's not when the party is at high pitch. And secondly, I think he knew they were sleeping. I don't think he would have gone in the house if he thought everybody was awake, roaming around. So I think he went in knowing it was quiet.
The two weren't sleeping. The two downstairs weren't sleeping, in my opinion. They just basically ordered food. They had just eaten food, and I don't think they were sleeping. The two downstairs, the guy might have been sleeping, but she wasn't. And that's my opinion. I think that's why he attacked them first, because first thing you do is you get rid of the people who are awake, and then.
And I'm not so much talking about the neighbors as I'm talking about people in the house. Unless he felt he could take out 6 people, that there was a huge risk that the first person would scream loud enough that everybody else would wake up. They would ID him, even if they didn't overpower him, and they would.
It was the perfect, in my opinion, it was the perfect ambush. The DoorDash driver go. So the people in the apartment probably thought it was that guy that was delivering the food, and he snuck in, and then he did his business. This is my opinion. That's why I think the DoorDash driver is probably going to be a key witness in this case.
Know exactly who it is. They give the description to the police and be arrested in 12 hours. So, I just don't buy the party house theory, even though it was a party house.
The DoorDash part is so perplexing because that DoorDash was on the back door or the front door, I'm not even sure which, at 4 o'clock in the morning. And the perp, be it Koberger or someone else, depending, was within minutes of that. It's astounding they didn't.
Who orders food at 4 o'clock in the morning and then goes right to sleep? That just doesn't make any sense. This just doesn't make any sense. It's they ordered food so that they wouldn't eat it. They were up.
Cross paths or at least see each other, or maybe
at least the people who ordered the food were up. They were waiting for food.
That was the opportunity, again, if he's guilty, that Koberger saw as a chance to be in the house where nobody would suspect an odd guy walking through the house because DoorDash was there.
Didn't I just say that? Exactly. I mean, some of this stuff you can't make up. Why people? I don't understand why people go on these tangent theories. It's he all he did is he just waited. I just want to know whether or not the DoorDash driver was supposed to leave the food on the doorstep, or I don't know about that, but to me it's a perfect ambush.
It's true too. And look, and I understand that, and I don't want to just focus on this, Ashley, because there's a lot of evidence here. I mean, the DNA on the knife sheath, just the fact that he had said that he was hanging around that area because he liked looking at stars, even though it was cloudy, and he put himself right by the scene of the crime. In addition to
this guy here is just. This guy here is, I mean, I'm not a professional, but this guy looks psychotic. He just does.
Taking his cell phone with him, turning it on and off, as opposed to leaving it at home when it's on. I mean, that's kind of a basic thing, especially if you're studying criminal justice. So, he screwed up a lot if he did it, but there's a lot of evidence that he did.
I mean, those are two massive.
More intelligent people have been caught before. One of the guys, who was that guy that had like 145 IQ? Was that Ed Kemper? I mean, some of these unalivers are extremely intelligent, and they still get caught, right? Because I forget what the statistic is, but I think it's one out. All of these people leave 1 or 2 mistakes behind.
Rookie moves, right? Taking your cell phone.
Especially these days with DNA. DNA technology has come so far. They can do things that just 5 or 6 years ago they wouldn't be able to do. So you can be smart all you want, but nobody's perfect.
Phone with you and thinking you're smart enough that turning it off once you're driving, and then number 2, leaving the knife sheath behind, because as we have come to understand, the murders on the 3rd floor happened first, and the knife sheath was up there. So he would have been leaving the house without the knife sheath, and he left again, if he's guilty.
It could have been that he was in the moment too. When you're in the moment, you know, especially if you're intent upon doing something and you have it all kind of planned out. And sometimes you just forget the most obvious thing. You're in the moment. He was in the moment. I agree with Heather. I just think this guy's guilty. That's just my opinion. 100%. Actually, I got him at 80%.
The first murders, he left the sheep behind. So real rookie move. And let's talk a little more about that theory of yours about going 0 to 60 in your first murder, that it's very, very unlikely. In your special, in Strange and Suspicious, you do have some experts who actually say, maybe it's not that weird. Maybe somebody can go from 0 to 60 because spree killers do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And by the way, it's not a special. This is actually a series that's on the Fox stations around the country in the big markets. It's Monday through Friday. So how about that? Yes, we had people, we have like LAPD, retired cop.
I agree. I think he's still thinking he's going to, just like the other guy we just covered, he thinks he's going to get away with it somehow. I just don't think it's going to happen. You never know what a jury's going to decide, but this guy's going to be spending a lot of time in prison. That's just my opinion.
Private investigators and others who said what you said, which is it is not necessarily unusual where people can create fantasies and then act out on the fantasy. That's true.
I know one thing. This guy had absolutely no respect for women at all. That's just my opinion. He just, some of the stuff, whether it's true or not or whatever, but he just had no respect for women at all. It's sad. These 4 kids and I consider them kids because they're kids. No business being unalive like this. But that's why I said I think this guy's was a budding serial SKer for sure.
True. Where I come from is this. My dad owned a liquor store, and I worked in the store when I was a kid. And I
hate the guy. I can't stand him. I mean, if he's guilty, he needs to face the freaking punishment. Poor people.
Remember, we used to have a lot of people coming in stealing things, stealing Playboy, stealing candy. And I remember talking to my dad about it. And we would talk about the fact that people who come in and they steal Playboys and steal candy and whatnot, that they keep graduating upward. And eventually some of them end up robbing banks. This would be like somebody robbing a bank in their first outing and skipping my dad's liquor store. And for some reason, the liquor store metaphor always is.
There's statistics, though, that, his age is perfect starting age for this kind of behavior. And again, I go back to a lot of this stuff, like we don't know a lot about his past, and we're probably not going to know until a trial or something. But you never know about these people until there's a trial or there's information coming out about his background, his behavior. But just my opinion, this guy here is pretty psychotic.
Stuck with me, and it's odd to me that somebody would commit a crime of this magnitude with this many people, thinking that they could do it with just a knife in the middle of the night with a 3-level house. That's pretty damn bold. Even if you have fantasies, I'm not sure if somebody.
You can go through the list of SKers, especially Ted Bundy. He literally attacked a college of school kids and just started unaliving people for no reason. These people have been in society forever. I mean, I don't know where this guy's coming from saying that. The statistics to back it up too. It's a thrill to these idiots. It's I don't know. I don't know how he can just say this.
Buddy is smart, and he is smart, would say, I'm going to act on this fantasy because I think I can pull it off. It feels improbable.
Yeah, I mean, this is Capote level violence. And I always like to say there are a lot of smart criminals out there, and they always think they're smarter than all of the crime solvers. And
I think it was Ed Kemper. I think Ed Kemper had like a 140. He was way up. One of them was way up there in intelligence level. But you know, science unfortunately is the drawback to that. You know, you especially these days here, they can separate DNA. They can do a lot of shit that they, you know. That's why I say Ted Bundy probably wouldn't have gotten away with what he got away with now. At least as many DNA's and phone forensics too. People forget about phone forensics. Phone forensics have come a long way. Years ago, you know, you had to go through mountains and hoops to get this document from the phone companies, the cell phone companies. Nowadays, if they can pinpoint you around the scene of the crime, guess what? You're a suspect.
Typically, they're not. One last quick question for you, Harvey Levin, because you know how much I adore you and I also admire you. You've got such a great body of work as well as your background in law. What's your over-under on this? What do you think is actually going to happen? I know the theories we've espoused here, but what do you really think is going to happen in Idaho?
I just can't. I'm going to get out of this for now. This guy's bothering me. I can't stress enough, though, that juries are weird. You know, and I say that about, hey, the real dragon, how are you? Good to see you. Is that Frosty? Is that Tom Frost? Juries are weird, you know, especially these days here. But 9 times out of 10, they got DNA. It's pretty much a done deal. I've seen people walk free with DNA too, but it's highly improbable. But you never know how a jury is going to go. You know, you just don't. I think that. Oh, it's Mark. Hi, Mark. How are you doing? That's why I'm 80% on Richard Allen in the Delphi case, but I have a hard time believing they're going to find 12 jurors to agree. That's just me. You know, it's so juries are weird when it comes to stuff like this. I just don't think they're going to get away with it, especially this guy here. All right, so what the hell am I doing? I was going to go here and do this. I've been covering this case too. The missing woman in Chicago, I think, this Bahama case here. Family's been speaking out now too, so let's play this. She went missing. Taylor Casey, Chicago went missing in Bahamas. She was down there on a I think a yoga retreat down in and I actually found that yoga retreat. So this is this information on
Casey's
Taylor
42nd birthday, and she remains missing. This morning, her family is hosting a news conference downtown as a call to action to enlist the help of the FBI. Investigators are still looking for the Chicago woman in the Bahamas as the search nears the 3-week mark. She was last seen on June 19th on Paradise Island, where she was attending a yoga.
I do understand kind of why they don't want to. I mean, the Delphi case is just a completely different case than some of these. They're, I can kind of understand why they don't want to televise that case, but I think they should for transparency. I can understand why they don't want to, in my opinion, but right, here's this.
Yoga retreat. Police in the Bahamas announced the discovery of Taylor's phone on Monday. Meanwhile, the chief superintendent.
The timeline and the time frame in the Delphi case, in my opinion, are very important.
Superintendent of the Royal Bahamas Police Force has been placed on leave, raising questions about the.
There's about 5 or 6 minutes. If you take the timestamps on Libby's phone, and you take the timestamps on everybody else's phone around the time frame, and if everything in the PCA is right, there's about 5 minutes of leniency there. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not enough. I think Richard Allen's going to need an alibi between 1:30 and 3:30. That's just, because if not, I mean, it can't be anybody else. It just can't. Nobody flew down from Mars and did this. But that's just my opinion.
Integrity of the investigation. Taylor's mother and friends spoke to ABC7 last night, saying the police are misleading the public about the state of the investigation by releasing old information about the case.
Lies.
So this person went missing a few weeks ago in the Bahamas. She went to a yoga retreat, and one of the detectives down there for the Bahamian police actually got let go because it seems like there's a lot of people that go missing overseas these days. And these people have been getting no answers in this case whatsoever. So they're starting to speak out a little bit here.
That's what they've been doing all along, like keeping information from us, not telling the truth. And yeah, I feel like they're just continuing to do what they do best, lie.
Obviously, given, what we've learned about the investigation or lack thereof, we really are calling on the FBI to get down there immediately to do this investigation so that we can find Taylor.
Friends and family say Taylor is transgender and believe this was a factor in her disappearance. They also feel police in the Bahamas are prejudiced. Meanwhile, the news conference this morning will call on elected officials, LGBTQ+ leaders, and the media to further elevate Taylor's story to get federal authorities involved. The press conference is set to take place at 8:30 this morning in Federal Plaza.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC.
Okay, so there's more on this here. Here's this one here. This was done yesterday, I think.
Tonight, we want to begin with new developments in the disappearance of Chicagoan Taylor Casey, who vanished during a yoga retreat in the Bahamas 3 weeks ago.
Her family now says that Taylor is transgender and may have felt isolated at that retreat. NBC5's Lexi Suter talked to her mother.
Taylor Casey turns 42 tomorrow, but she's not here to celebrate her birthday.
Distraught, very sad, grieved.
3 weeks ago, Taylor disappeared from the Sivananda Ashram yoga retreat on Paradise Island in the Bahamas. Her mother, Colette, says something sounded off.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I 100% agree with that, Dandy. I think that if there's technology to better the system, then absolutely. I just think about all the nutbags in the nutcases in the Delphi case, and that's one of the reasons why I myself personally am not too upset that it's not going to be televised, because it's just But I do agree that these cases need their transparency and all of that stuff. And I also don't think this case is going to trial in October. It's just me personally. The Karen Reed trial is just, I grew up in Massachusetts. So, I mean, if you want to talk bad cops, Massachusetts is the place. I mean, I lived it. But I'm not saying all cops in Massachusetts are bad. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me in the Karen Reed case. And that's why I've been kind of trying to stay out of that, because I don't want to voice too much of an opinion over there. But it's obvious that something was going on. And this guy is involved in a lot of cases too. I think he's pretty much involved with the Brian Walsh case too. You just want justice for these people, right? And you got, because I'm pro law enforcement, but there's bad people in every business. But Massachusetts is, yeah.
In her daughter's voice when the two spoke just one day before she vanished.
I got an eerie feeling after hanging up the phone with my child. And I sensed through the phone that something was wrong.
Taylor is a transgender woman of color. Colette fears Taylor's case isn't getting the proper investigation or attention, and it's because of who she is.
I just feel like they're hiding something, covering up something. Yeah, and they separated, isolated my child from the others. My child was the only African American in the instruction instructor's class.
My initial thoughts are, here we go again.
Shannon Parker runs the Brave Space Alliance in Hyde Park, offering support for the South.
Yeah, and the strange thing about that is she was on a panel to, do some intelligence on having cameras in the courtroom. So it's just weird. And they had cameras in the courtroom with the that whole motion thing when everything got kind of even more freaking crazily. But I myself personally am not going to be too upset if the case isn't televised, but because like I said, Delphi is one of those cases where there's just too many people that just go off the rails for no reason on certain little things, and it's I just want justice for the two kids, Abby and Libby, and the families, the victims, victims' families. Those people have been through a lot of bullshit, and I don't think they need any more bullshit. And that's one of the reasons why I want whoever did this to be held accountable for doing this. But I also don't want this thing to go to an appeal and then another appeal and then another appeal, because that sucks for the families too. I mean, that's a brutal, just awful experience for anybody, and those people don't deserve it.
Sides LGBTQ plus community and people such as Taylor.
We need to hold folks accountable. We need to remember that even though folks are missing, they are not forgotten. And their cases.
Because in my opinion, regardless of whether or not he's convicted or not, there's going to be an appeal. There's definitely going to be an appeal, whether it's a mistrial or and I don't want to see that. I just don't want to see the families have to go through that again. Just
are worthy of investigation.
My child is missing. Do something. Help find my child.
Tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning, Taylor's friends, family, and advocates will be celebrating her birthday by calling for more help from state and local leadership and also calling for assistance from the FBI. Reporting downtown, Lexi Suter, NBC5 News.
I know there's a guy that specifically does these types of cases. He's solved a couple of cases in, I don't know if it was the Bahamas, but he's with the islands like that. He's really good at tracking down some of these kidnappings and stuff like that, and unalivings. I forget the guy's name, but all right. So that's I'm going to keep following that case too, because it doesn't seem like anybody really gives a shit about that case. But let me go here to this here. Yeah, I understand it. Yeah, I mean, they should at least have a pool reporter, I think. I want to do this here because this is this came out a little while ago too. So a woman mysteriously unalived minutes after a date in Texas, and this is from Law and Crime Network too. Anna Mariah Mo Wilson stayed with a friend in her Texas apartment as she prepared to compete in a cycling race in May 2022. Professional cyclist went out with a friend and fellow pro cyclist Colin Strickland. So seriously. Actually, hold on a second. Let's stop this here. I think I just pulled up the wrong one. Give me 2 minutes. My birds are out. Oh, this one here. Okay, this is the one I wanted to do. All right, let me share this. Okay, so This is the 17-year-old Tennessee girl. Details about the unaliving of a 17-year-old Tennessee girl. And there's more on this too. Let me try to find it. This was done July 11th. Oops, let me share this here. Right here.
Comes next for the 17-year-old accused of killing her. It was last Wednesday when a TDOT subcontractor was picking up trash near Vietnam Vets Boulevard near New Shackle Road, and it was there that he found human remains in the woods. Police later identified those remains as 17-year-old Trinity Bostic. Bostic went missing just a few days prior. Now, today was one of the very first hearings in this case, and News 2's Adam Mintzer was the only reporter in the courtroom. Adam?
The suspect's name is Fernando Perales Mejia. His attorney did waive his right to a court appearance today and did waive his right to a detention hearing, meaning Mejias will stay behind bars for now. But newly released court documents do give us more details into what police say happened. Police say phone records show Mejia and Bostic were together for hours on June 29th, the day Bostic went missing. And phone records also show them both in the area where Bostic's body was found. Police say bullet casings from the scene match the type of gun found in Mejia's car. When questioned,
I do know our cats eat a lot of plastic. They try to. Hey, QRPS, PBS, Music Crime, how you doing? She has an awesome channel. She's another one that I try to, she does a lot of music. She's awesome. I was on there the other day. Bugging her, but I can give you a wrench if you want. That way you can post your channel in here. She's great. What was I doing? This here. Hold on a second.
police say Mejia first said he hadn't seen Bostic in 2 years, but then changed his story multiple times. Bostic's sister was in court today, as well as Mejia's family. I'll have more details on what they told me coming up on News 2 at 5. For now in Sumner County, Adam Mintzer, News 2.
So I'll try to find more on that too, but I want to go to this too. This is, hold on a second. Thank you, Dandy. Hold on a second. This is the Sandra Birchmore. The civil case moves forward here with this, and this is another one of those cases here.
About the investigation into the death of Sandra Birchmore. She's the young woman who was allegedly groomed by 3 Stoughton police officers.
Her death was ruled a suicide, but her estate filed a wrongful death lawsuit. NBC 10's Eli Rosenberg live in Dedham after attending the civil hearing in Birchmore's case. Eli, what did you learn?
Yeah, this was a civil hearing tied to the wrongful death lawsuit filed by Sandra Birchmore's estate against those 3 officers and the town of Stoughton. But within that civil hearing, new details about the criminal investigation. Also,
I'll just say they for now. Yeah, I always just, I'm an idiot. Sorry.
So playing out.
I just want Sandra Birchmore to get justice for herself and the child that she was carrying.
In recent weeks, the justice for Sandra Birchmore's social media accounts exploding in popularity.
The engagement has been...
So let me read this here. At a civil hearing tied to the wrongful unaliving lawsuit filed by the estate of Sandra Birchmore, the Massachusetts Attorney General's office had shared some new details about the ongoing investigation. Birchmore was unalived while pregnant. It was ruled a S. But Staunton police have said officers had inappropriate SRs with her, one allegedly starting when she was underage, and her family has raised questions. So this is awful.
Amazing. and people are upset, rightfully so.
For the record, Colin. But now new details on where things stand surrounding the investigation into Birchmore's death.
There is an ongoing investigation. It continues to be very active.
It's an awesome channel. I was over there the other day. Great channel. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Birchmore died in February 2021. Her death ruled a suicide. When she died, she was 3 months pregnant.
Our investigation discovered that
A year later, the Stoughton police chief, saying a lengthy investigation found 3 former officers had an inappropriate sexual relationship with Birchmore, with one of those relationships starting when Birchmore was underage. The Boston Globe reporting last month, Birchmore's family hired a prominent forensic pathologist who concluded her death was a homicide.
That is significant, extremely significant.
Now lawyers representing the officers suing the Attorney General's office.
See, what they may be trying to do here, and I've seen this before, where nobody will listen to them, right? And they hire all these other people to try to get this overturned from being an S to a homicide. So what they'll do is they'll go to a civil case, because the civil case you don't need as much evidence to rule it a wrongful unaliving. And then what they'll do is they'll move the Attorney General to get more involved in the case. So this could be what they're doing here, because I think this is a very suspicious unaliving here with her.
Asking it to release files as it prepares to fight a civil wrongful death suit filed by Birchmore's estate.
My client has one opportunity to prove his innocence here, Your Honor.
To the extent that there is a homicide investigation taking place that, the Attorney General's office is not handling.
I don't mind promoting any other channel because there's a lot of people better than I am, that's for sure. But the more information that we can get out there for, some of these cases, that's what it needs, that's what a lot of these things need. So that's why I don't have a problem with promoting other channels. I know some people do, but I don't. So if you got a channel, absolutely. As long as it's not like a, one of those types of channels.
It would not do anything to interfere with an ongoing homicide investigation.
So the hearing lasted about 40 minutes, no ruling. Instead, the judge asked the Attorney General's office to provide some more details about the different documents it has, the judge giving the AG's office 30 days to do so. Ivan Dedham, Eli Rosenberg, NBC 10, Boston.
All right, so I'm going to go here with this really quickly here. This is this. That's too loud. I'm sorry.
Welcome back, folks. We have another story out of Massachusetts that we're going to cover.
So this was done 2 weeks ago. This is Vinny Politano. Another good channel is Joe Chacalone. He's really good. Miracle Hearts is here. Hi, Miracle Hearts. Good to see you. Hey, Dean. What's up, buddy? Welcome back. Miracle Hearts is awesome, too. And like I said, if you have a channel you want to post it in here, I have no problem handing out wrenches so people can do that. I have probably 170 subscribers and probably 170 wrenches. And you don't have to do anything if you have a wrench. It's just so that you can post your own channels in here. Because it would take me forever to do it myself. I have some great mods too that do it for me, so that helps. But just let me know.
For you tonight, some of you may have been talking about it, may have heard about it. It involves this young woman. Her name is Sandra Birchmore. Let me give you a little bit of the background concerning Sandra Birchmore. At just the age of 23, she was found dead, hanging in her apartment in Canton, Massachusetts in February of 2021. Now, the investigation into what happened to her revealed or was ruled death by suicide. The state medical examiner, after the autopsy, found that it was death by suicide. The same autopsy reported that she had been 3 months pregnant. So you've got a 23-year-old taking her own life.
So let's see here. I'm pretty sure that people know where Canton, Massachusetts is now if you've been following the Karen Reed case. But Canton is here. Basically 95, so you can get there either way. You can go Route 3, 95, 93. Just to give you some bearings of where we are. Boston is right here. They're basically due south of Boston. So it's not considered inside Boston, but it's just right outside Boston. Boston itself is a really small city, so they make all these other all these other towns are part of Boston. All right, so let's get back to this here. If you took the actual land of Boston, it's a very, very small city.
While 3 months pregnant. So
this is really freaking disturbing here, if it's true.
What's the story behind this woman? Well, there's a lot to it, and it's pretty deep. And we begin by taking a picture, I think you just saw it, of young Sandra Birchmore. Here she is. She enrolled with the Stoughton Police Youth Explorer program when she was just 13 years old. Okay? Young girl.
Stoughton, right? Stoughton.
Teenager, right? Wants to get involved in law enforcement. How exciting is that? And here she is pictured with Officer Robert Devine from the Stoughton Police Department. I think he became the chief. But the chief in this picture is part of the story.
Is the sound bad? If the sound's bad, let me know.
He is now one of 3 officers accused of having some level of an inappropriate communications, contact, and grooming with this teenage girl, Sandra Birchmore. Now, these 3 officers from the Stoughton PD, on the left, that's Matthew Farwell, who allegedly began a physical, I wouldn't call it relate.
I would guarantee that back in the 80s, especially late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, I would say about 10%, maybe that's a little high, 6% of law enforcement in Massachusetts was probably on a payroll of some sort, especially in some of the highly influenced Italian neighborhoods.
Relationship, because it cannot be a relationship. It cannot be consensual if you're 15, right? But some sort of physical relationship with Sandra when Sandra was 15. Sandra told her friend, allegedly told her friend, that he was the father of the child that she was carrying when she was found hanging in her apartment. Now, we can go back to them if we want, if we can go back to that picture, because I want to describe who the person is in the middle. The person in the middle is William Farwell. That is a twin.
The biggest mafia in Boston was the Irish, no doubt in my mind.
Brother of Matthew Farwell. He's also alleged to engaged in multiple inappropriate physical encounters with her. Again, these are allegations. No one's been charged with anything. And like everybody else, they're presumed innocent, but these are allegations that have been made. He also allegedly sent her explicit messages and photos to her while he was on duty. So what's the big...
Freaking sickos. Absolutely freaking sickos. If this is true, they're sickos.
Development? Well, Dr. Michael Baden. You know Dr. Michael Baden. This is him in the O.J. Simpson case years ago. One of the most renowned forensic pathologists has been hired by Sandra's family as they are suing the Stoughton Police Department and the city of Stoughton and those 3 officers. He took a look at the autopsy results, and he found, based upon his review, that Sandra's death was a homicide. Now, I want to read for you a statement from the new and current Chief of Police of the Stoughton Police Department, Donna McNamara. I would be remiss if I did not remark that I have reviewed the findings of the outside doctor, that would be Dr. Baden, retained by Sandra's family. I was profoundly disturbed and troubled by what I read. While I'm not a trained medical examiner and I'm not qualified to draw any direct conclusions, the findings certainly warrant further examination at the highest level. So, more problems with local police, or more alleged problems with local police in Massachusetts, in that same area of Massachusetts, and now looking into exactly how Sandra died. Was this death by suicide or was this homicide? Let me bring in our special guests who are joining us tonight. Creator of the Justice for Sandra Birchmore Facebook page, Melissa Berry.
I mean, who would make this stuff up?
And the page's moderator, Suzanne Cleveland. Thank you both for being here. This is the first time on this program we are covering this story.
YouTube is trying to silence you? Why? I don't even think they can.
We've got a lot of viewers watching right now who've been locked into the Karen Reed case and are waiting to hear the results of that as the jury deliberates. So, Melissa, I'll begin with you. Let's start with Sandra. Tell us about Sandra. So,
I've listened to 2 or 3 different cases over the last couple of months where they, oh my God. Really? That's stupid. That's dumb. I'll have to call them. I need to have a talk with them. What was I saying? I was saying something about, I don't know what I was saying now. About the cases I've been listening to. So lately, what these things will do, if there's no pressure from law enforcement and these families keep, especially with something that's been deemed a S and not a criminal act, they'll do a civil case. And what the civil case will do is if they deem the civil case to be criminal, then they'll take that to law enforcement, and law enforcement will be forced or pressured to dig a little bit deeper into the case. So that's what they might be doing here with this one.
Folks watching now, myself, everyone else, have a better understanding of who she was and where she was in her life at age 23.
Sandra was a quirky, kind child. She grew up in Stoughton, Massachusetts, and she was excited that she was pregnant and about to have a baby. She would tell anybody that she was so excited to have this child. And that is part of the reason why people didn't believe that she did this to herself. She grew up, she did have a hard life,
Sorry if you're having trouble with them.
mother passed away in 2016, and her grandmother passed away in 2016, and a lot of other family members passed away around that same time. So she did have a tough life, but she was so excited to become a mother, and these men took advantage of her, and it's just heartbreaking to see what was done to her.
So Birchmore was 3 months pregnant at the time of unaliving, and she told her friends that Officer Matthew Farwell was the dad. Okay.
So,
well, Suzanne, let's talk about that. Some of these allegations, and obviously there's the family is now bringing a civil suit. What is the nature of the allegations against these officers, and what they have been accused of doing to Sandra, and I guess beginning as a teenager?
Vinny's awesome. Wasn't a big fan of him at first, but
well, see, Vinny, that's the biggest problem, is that this poor young woman looked up to these officers as role models and caretakers.
I do care about subs, but I'm not. I don't really care, unfortunately. I love all the subs that I have. I know everybody says this, but I have the greatest people in the chat, the greatest subscribers. And you're probably going to hear this from everybody, but all I care about is getting the word out to people about some of these cases. I care about the victims' families. It's the only reason why I'm here. I wouldn't be here. I mean, this stuff is so difficult to talk about, these cases of brutals. It's just, I get it all the time. You know, why do you want to talk about unalive people all the time? But it's important to me because it's about the victims. You know, it's about especially kids and people who can't protect themselves, domestic violence, all of that stuff. You know, I really appreciate all the people that do sub here, and to people like Southern Gal, the think tank, all of that stuff. Because the more we put focus on the important stuff, right? That's all I care about. I have way too much free time on my hands, so this is what I do with my free time.
And protectors, and instead they violated her. And
thank you, Miracle Hearts. I hope everybody's safe from that thing. That was a pretty terrible storm down there in Texas. We got some of it up here too. We got 2 tornadoes up here that we never have tornadoes up here.
And when the story first came about, it was already tragic that this poor girl died. And we know that Sandra didn't die by suicide.
I really truly mean this. When I come on live and I see all these people in the chat, I really do appreciate it. You guys can be doing so much with your time, besides coming on here to listen to my voice all the time. So I do really appreciate it. Thank you.
But the reality is that if it had happened that way, and then that horrible death is still on the hands of these predators and groomers who exploited her and took advantage of her and essentially stole her out of life.
Just like that piece of dog shit down there in Myrtle Beach, the pastor there. The guy's a freaking predator. I hate the guy. But I guarantee you nothing will be done with that, because it's just the way it is. It's the way the law works, man. But that guy's just as guilty as all these other people, as far as I'm concerned.
Lessons. So it was already a tragic story, and then as the layers unfolded, and as you know from Chief.
Oh, that's too funny. That's a classic. That would be good too, because the pizza around here sucks.
McNamara's statement, they know there's a lot wrong here. And
Nothing like New York pizza. And I haven't had New York pizza in, I don't know, 10 years or so. It's like lasagna. You know, whenever lasagna is made here, I don't care where I am, I'm flying home, man, because I'm not missing the lasagna shit. That's just not happening. I mean, I can make my own lasagna, but that's not the point.
we've known for a while that there's a lot wrong here, and that's what brings us together tonight.
Yeah, and the Karen Reed case obviously has put a spotlight on this area of the state and alleged actions by officers. Now, Melissa, I read the statement from the Stoughton chief of police. So what are your thoughts and what is your level of confidence that there's going to be further examination at the highest level, that there will be a thorough investigation here to take a second look at what happened to her when she was 23 and found in her apartment, and what happened to her as a teenager?
Yeah, the FBI is looking into her case. The Attorney General has her case now, and we're hoping that because of these developments now with this pathologist coming out saying that her death was a homicide, that we can put pressure on the medical examiner of Massachusetts to reopen her case and re-examine her case. And we can get justice for Sandra and her baby. She was 3 months pregnant. And that's why we've been working so hard to get Sandra's name out there. This was even before, you know, this all came out.
See, I don't know what happened to her body. So I don't know if I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But that's a good point with the DNA thing.
We are just working so hard to try to keep Sandra's memory alive. And with the Karen Reed case, we've been able to piggyback off of that and bring a lot of eyes on Sandra's case. And we're just growing and growing, and we're growing on her justice page and on the Twitter page that I also run too.
And it's not the first time that we've seen this. And recently here in Court TV, last year we covered the Alec Murdaugh case down in.
You're getting storms tonight? I'll go a few more minutes here with this, and then I'll get out of here.
South Carolina. And on the heels of that case, everyone started talking about what happened to this young man named Stephen Smith. And that case was reopened. So I see a lot of similarities in what's happening now in Massachusetts. So, Suzanne, what, from your perspective and the folks that are supporting your cause, what is justice for Sandra?
If they combed the Charles River in Massachusetts, they would find a plethora of people. Just my opinion.
Justice for Sandra. Oof. It would be holding these officers accountable for doing what they did instead of being protectors for her and caretakers for everybody in the community. They were doing a lot of bad things. Period.
Let me ask you, Suzanne, are we talking about the same?
And then it was sort of covered up.
Are we talking about the same investigators for the death of Sandra that investigated the death?
Yeah, Laura's awesome. She's got a great voice. Let's hope the two of them can patch it up a little bit, because I think she's good for him. She has a tremendous voice, for sure.
Of John O'Keefe, are there any sort of parallels in who we're talking about here?
There are a lot of common players in this story. A lot of parallels and a lot of common players, and particularly the DA.
A lot of respect for Rick. Like I said, I don't always agree. I don't always agree with myself, to be honest with you, but good guy.
The DA in Norfolk County is heavily involved in this case, and a lot of the tech, a lot of the elements that mysteriously have gone unavailable. there's a lot of parallels between this very high profile case that we're, all in right now, and Sandra's case. And it's sort of a blessing that we have all of this attention drawn right now, because a lot of the investigative issues and a lot of the behavior, it's the same across the board. And this gives us an opportunity to really stay on all of these problems.
Melissa.
All right. So I'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to try to dig up some of that stuff about the what happened to her body. I don't know whether or not they did a autopsy yet. I mean, on that, I don't know. I know they did, right? Because they did two. One confirmed the criminal act and one didn't. So I'll have to keep an eye on it. I'll try to dig into that case because that's disturbing for sure. But I'm going to get the hell out of here. Sorry. But I want to thank everybody who came in. I've been here freaking 2 hours. Heather, you're awesome. Dean, you're awesome. I really appreciate you guys coming in. You guys make the live. You make the chat. Miracle Hearts, thank you so much for coming in. Let me know if you want a wrench. If anybody wants a wrench, let me know. I want to thank The Real Dragon. They got a great channel over there too. Frosty and Mark, great channel. They do great work. Frosty's great. Who else was in here? Miss Persevere was in here. Miss Persevere has a great channel too. Dandelions was in here. I knew that. For some reason, my cursor's not wanting to go up here. Dandy's awesome. I know that Necessarily Evil was in here. Necessarily Evil's great. QRPBS Music Crime was in here. She's got a great channel. Really enjoyed being over there the other day. I'll try to catch more of that too, because I love music. Okay, who was that? Who else was in here? I know Southern Gal was in here. Southern Gal's great. Southern Gal's a real deal. She has a great channel. She's very talented. Miranda Lee was in here. Miranda Lee, we're thinking about you all the time here. I hope you're all right. Just a great person. Miranda Lee's just a great person. Let us know if you need. Let me know if you need anything. I mean, I don't know what I can do, but sometimes an ear helps. All right. So who else is in here? I'm trying to scroll up, and if I miss anybody, I'm sorry. But I do appreciate all the people in the chat, all the people that show up. Because other than that, I'd be just talking to myself, which I do pretty good anyways. But let's see here. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I got everybody. But again, like I said, I hope Honeybee's doing well too. I haven't seen Honeybee for a while. Honeybee's great. She's got a great channel. All right, so that's it. I'm going to play my outro and get out of here. Again, I really do appreciate all of the people that come in here. And I just want to thank everybody for coming in again. And I'm going to get out of here. All right. So everybody stay safe. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you guys next time, I think. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. Probably another True Crime Weekly. There's so many cases going on. It's just amazing. So I'm going to play my outro and get out of here. Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm.